Hi, everybody, and welcome to Faces of Foster Care, the official podcast of Fostering Great Ideas. And today we have the founder of Fostering Great Ideas, David. Welcome, David.
Hey, welcome, Tori. Thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for being on. All right, David, the first question. Some of our listeners may not know what Fostering Great Ideas is. Some of them may have a very close relationship with FGI. Can you tell us what is it? Why is it so important?
Well, Tori, it is a platform to advocate on the behalf of children who live in foster care. Fostering Great Ideas is a platform that has much to do with community engagement on the behalf of these children. So the community says, how can I get involved? We say, and let's learn together and let's respond together. So children in foster care not only survive, but thrive while they're in care and afterwards at every point of their journey through foster care.
That's great. And why did you start Fostering Great Ideas?
I needed to get a job. That was a joke. So I started it when I was 40 years old. Talk about midlife crisis. I decided, or at 42, I said, children in foster care are getting a lot of Christmas presents from community members, and that's good. But what about the rest of the year? There's tons of faith-based groups that support them throughout the rest of the year. There's tons of people who stand tall for these children who live, they're no fault of their own, in foster care. But what happens if we were to build a platform where ingenuity could come into play, where innovative thought and people could respond in ways that were good for the children in their local community? Fostering Great Ideas became that platform. It took me 4 years to really build out these great ideas, and then to say this is legit, and then to run the show with so many people behind the vision.
That's awesome. And it keeps growing. Every time there's a new challenge that needs to be addressed and a light bulb turns on, you create a program.
Right. It does seem to be that way. I am getting a little tired in my old age, story, and but maybe need to slow down a little bit. But it is a new idea all the time. But the new ideas all connect one to another, and they're all championed by the children and the youth who live in care, and by alumni who've lived in care, who want to say, hey, it can be better, and it really will require a community-wide response. And that gives me the energy every day.
So what are the next challenges that Fostering Great Ideas will be addressing?
Well, if we think about the annual challenges, the next challenges, it always ties into, let's see, how to build small but think big. You have to always incubate. As an entrepreneur, as an innovation house, what is a challenge that can be operationalized, but then also can scale? Right now, to your question, Tori, a key challenge is how to build in sibling rights within the whole foster care system. A horribly difficult statistic within the system of care, through no fault of anyone's, is that about half of children in foster care, their whole sibling set is separated while they live in foster care. I was a foster parent. We took in one child, but one of 5 children. That is not uncommon. Some people may take 2 children. Kudos to those who take sibling groups. But still, then the children who they see their parent, for the family reunification, trying to get back together, all very good. But what happens? Can they have their own time together to restore that lifelong bond, that sibling bond? So one of our really big ideas right now is to build a sibling transport system for sibling focused visits, to where every child in foster care who's separated from their sibling set can see their sibling routinely every month through a wonderfully engaged visit structure just for them. We got a lot of other big ideas that are playing themselves out right now. That's one I really love.
And when kids are in foster care, we can't neglect their significant sibling contact. And like you said, they're not really getting that significant time together when they're at a parenting visit. And unfortunately, a lot of kids see each other once a month, if they get to see each other once a month. A lot of kids go a really long time without seeing their siblings. And the advocates in the Yay Council are really focusing on sibling rights this year as well, because it is astounding that that trauma is something that's pretty normalized in foster care, being separated from siblings.
Well, you know it firsthand as you lived in foster care as a kid, and there was separation within that. And you mentioned the A Council. So I'll ask you, what is the A Council? I just asked
Yeah.
you that question, Tori, for your listeners. Go for it. Yeah.
The Yay
Teach me
Council
something.
is the Youth Engagement Advocates Council in South Carolina. They are the innovative advocates from foster
Mm.
care who are working collaboratively with DSS to make foster care better. Last year, they really focused, really the last 2 years, they focused on extending foster care to 21 so that kids in foster care don't have to leave on their 18th birthday. They can leave
Mm.
when they're ready between 18 and 21. And that gives them the ability to get an associate's degree, have a couple years at a job, have a savings account, have a car, have all these things that they need rather than being a teenager on their own. This year, they're really focusing in on sibling connection. So many of the Yay members were
That's great.
also separated from their siblings,
Mhm.
and transportation, that's a big piece. When we don't have a plethora of available beds, kids get placed really far away from each other. And
Mm.
your program, Sibling, I know you have a coordinator who has gone out of state to pick up children to have a visit with their siblings because it's just the distance really becomes the challenge. And we know that sibling bonds, strong sibling bonds, are lifelong protective factors. And we really want to focus on what do we give kids while they're in care that strengthens them and their families for the rest of their lives. And this idea could really do that.
You know, it's interesting, Tori. So you mentioned this individual who went out of state to bring siblings back together to help them restore a bond from the relationship trauma of removal from their own family unit, right? And this individual, Elise, is right. You know, Elise. Well, she is a twin, and she lived in foster care when she was a youth, and how often she saw her siblings or did not see her siblings, and how important that was. So it certainly has her passion point. I think if you talk to a lot of children in foster care, one you'll find the same. The beauty of fostering great ideas is we become the platform or a platform where we hear the voice of that child, that youth, of what they're trying to tell the rest of us. Because I'm simply an ally. I've, yes, been a foster parent. Yes, I'm an adoptive dad, but I've never lived as a child in foster care. So the concept is, how do you build these conversation points, sibling rights we're talking about right now, to where it's meaningful to the larger community? And really interesting dynamic, not damning of anyone. Because if I'm an adoptive parent, as I am, or a foster parent, which I was, I may not be able to absorb sibling rights. Frankly, it is not on me to bring all the siblings together in that role. It is on a system designed to bring it all together for the benefit of children, and so I can be a part of that. Um, but it's exhausting in so many ways to have multiple roles within foster care. I need to focus, if I'm a foster parent, on the care of my child, the child in my care. And I need to champion others and who are focusing on the rights of these children and all the different other components. That's my argument. I really go a lot towards that within fostering great ideas, that each one of us who serves children well needs to be acknowledged. It is all difficult work for the child for sure, but for everybody else. And how then do we work together? You had mentioned DSS, Department of Social Services, and their Yay Council, Youth Engagement Advocate Council, and just appreciating them and saying, you do great work for children because you prioritize and you want a youth engagement council.
Yep.
That's great. So we all work together. Foster parents who take in only one child, who can't take in the whole sibling set, like myself.
Right.
That's acceptable. You got to do what's best for you. And now it's people who deal with rights, who help us to learn what are the rights and to help make it probable and certain that siblings still remain well connected when appropriate,
Definitely.
of course.
Yes, definitely when appropriate, because there are additional challenges that can be brought to light in cases. I think it's so important too that you said that we're trying to shine light on every face from foster care, and it's not just the kids.
Yeah.
We have a mom who, successfully reunified and shares her story this season.
Oh, great.
We have people who have been in foster care, who are adults, who are sharing their stories, but the ally community Those
Yeah.
faces are faces of foster care, and
Indeed.
allies are people who foster. They are people who work in foster care, both on the social services side, GALs and CASAs, mentors, nonprofit people who work in foster care and really champion. We are here for these kids and to make the system better. All those faces of foster care really deserve to have a light shone on them. And when we do that, we build empathy. And
Good.
you said yourself an empathy point. As a person who was separated from my siblings, my bias is, why don't we have more foster parents who are willing to take all 5 kids? Why don't we have any foster parents who are willing to take all 5 kids?
They need a
And
minivan if they do, for sure, or a very large minivan, I think, once
yes,
it gets to be 8 plus 10.
passenger van. But when you are coming from the foster parent perspective, your bias is, I really have to only take on what I can take on, and I can't take on 5 kids.
Yeah.
I don't know
It's
anyone who can take
Mhm.
on 5 kids.
Mhm.
That's a lot. And so really addressing our bias, but also shining a light on what everyone's thinking and what every different piece of this machine, every different cog is going through to get the kids through the system with the least amount of trauma.
Well
And so
said. I appreciate that a lot, Tori. Yeah. Through the system, through the least amount of trauma. I think that's the key. If you had asked initially me about fostering great ideas, and it really is those relational components. I think when I created it, I really is like, I just don't want all this pain. And that's it. How do you build in these restorative components to where the pain, you said the trauma, right? I didn't even know that word when I started it, when I was 42, officially started it. But and then you start to smile. You start to see that the pain is lessened, and the responses of people at all places, the people who give the Christmas presents, and the children who stand up for their rights. Everyone says yes. It's quite nice.
yeah. Well, to wrap it up, what is your goal to see on the face of a child in foster care, the face of a kid, a sibling who's in one of your programs, a kid who gets a mentor from one of your programs, an adult alumni who shares their story for the first time? What's your goal for the look on their face?
Yeah, just the word joy is perhaps used in a lot of situations. And means different things to different people, but maybe it doesn't mean different things to different people. Joy is an expressive approach to life. It says, I am free, I am hopeful, I am overjoyed, I am crying with delight, I am seen, right? I am responded to, I am my own person, I am living. That's great. Joy. Joy on a child's face is everything.
I am living. I am embracing life, through all the challenges that
Indeed.
these people go through, like that hope and that vigor and that perseverance. Well,
Yeah.
thank you so much, David, for being on today with Faces of Foster Care. And for everybody who tuned in, thank you so much. Season 1 is all about fostering great ideas, and you can learn more about us through each episode, but you can also check us out on fgi4kids.org and learn about each of our innovative programs. And David, I'm sure we'll have you on again in future seasons. Thanks,
Sounds
everybody.
great. Thanks, Tori.